Whew. See if we remember how to do this thing. Coming from the Suns Jam Session, a podcast that is known for going live after every Phoenix Suns game. We're in the offseason right now. Things are different. We're coming to you for the first time in, I think, a couple weeks. Feels like a month. Matthew, how long do you feel like it's been since you and I got together and actually potted? Because last time I potted, you weren't even present. Or were you? I don't remember. It was that long ago.
Long time. And honestly, I was a little nervous today. A little nervous, just like last playoffs we did last year, where I got a little bit nervous between those pods. But I was like, am I going to remember how to talk? Or I don't even think I even remembered how to talk in the first place, right? This pod. So, but honestly, John, you look a little slim. You lost some weight there.
You can tell?
Yeah.
Aw,
I can. Yeah.
Yeah, my summer, ever since the Suns lost, much akin to the majority of the fan bases, done a lot of soul searching. I want to find myself.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? Let's check out those Weight Watcher points. Let's see how that whole shit works. It's torture, but I have lost like 10 pounds. So if you can see it on the
Looking
camera,
good,
great.
man.
If you can hear it in my voice, if you're listening to the pod, even better. But yeah, I'm about to turn 40. It's time to start really focusing in on my health. Stop eating as many cheeseburgers. Start having a few more salads. Nothing too crazy. Popping open a Diet Dr. Pepper tonight rather than a beer because this is 0 points on the Weight Watchers program. So
Is
I'll
it
pop.
really?
Yeah.
Do they recommend it though? They
They
probably
don't.
recommend
Of course,
it.
they don't recommend it. And I'm not sitting around pounding these things either. Like
Okay.
they're around. My wife likes to drink them. I'll drink one every now and then. I am obsessed with water. Like that's my thing. Is since I've kind of tried to change my diet, like I love water. That plus 114 degrees will do that to a guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Blaze Megatron. You can actually see it, boy. To see.
Well, that makes
Had
me
to
feel
point it
happy.
out.
So it's true. Yeah, I've dropped like I think almost like 9 pounds, 10 pounds.
Good.
So
Good for you, man.
well,
Seriously.
see, thank you guys. That's the motivation to keep it up because you know what it's like, Matthew. You know, because like you go through those spouts where you're not going through gluten because you're trying to make yourself healthy.
Mhm.
And there's times and moments where you're just like, just give me a carne asada burrito smothered in cheese. Who cares anymore? But then you get the positive reinforcement from your friends and family, and you're like, you know what? I guess it's
just lay off another day.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like
Yeah.
one day at a time, right? One day at a time. So, well, welcome everybody to the Suns Jam Session podcast. I'm John. You can follow me at Darth Voida. He's Matthew. You can follow him.
At Matthew Lucy.
And of course, you can follow the show at Suns Jam as usual. If you happen to be watching along live, please hit that thumbs up button. Please share with somebody. That's a new thing I maybe fold into the mix as we go into the new season. Is share it. Pop on the YouTube page, share it with somebody. Let them know. But hey, if you want to talk Suns with a couple of slim-looking guys, stop over to the Suns Jam Session podcast. So but things are a little bit new about around here. Like I said, Diet Dr. Pepper. Matthew's rocking that sick Suns hat right there. So you got to tell me about that shirt. Who are those people again?
Oh, it's Chip and Joanne. Fixer Upper.
Fixer Upper.
Yeah, I used to watch the show religiously, and they're the one couple I still believe in. You know, if they ever break up,
they're gonna make it.
It might be the end of me.
No,
so,
Matthew,
nothing to believe in.
They're gonna make it. And that's what we're going to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session is Chip and Joanne or whatever.
Chip and Joanne. Take that wall down. If anybody watches.
We're going to talk a little bit NBA Finals. You know, the season is yet to be finally complete. We have not officially moved into the offseason, although clearly as Phoenix Suns fans, that's where our head is at, which will take us right into some of the trade rumors that are out there. We're going to review some of the trade targets that I've proposed on brightsideofthesun.com. And if we have a little time at the end, much like Chip and Joanna, we'll talk about what we're watching on TV because I have a feeling that a lot of our fellow Phoenix Suns fans are doing just that. We're not completely engaged in basketball right now. We are watching things outside of Phoenix Suns. So let's talk about some of the things that are going on, movies, shows, whatever the fuck. And we'll go from there. Sound good? Sound like a plan?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So let's pop them if you got them. Matthew, what are you popping? Some water?
I just got water. No,
Let me see that thing. Did you got that jug?
I have a coffee, actually. Yeah, I got
that
jug.
Thing looks like 10
and I still
old.
my gum on top of it. I do that like a little Valley girl.
Well, I'm gonna pop it. Matthew's gonna start chewing the gum right off the top of his coffee. And you know what? New intro time. So for those of you who are watching, not listening, you got to see a few new dunks in there. Again, we're the jam session. So we're going to throw some new jams in there. I got some Jay Rich in there, Charles Barkley jam. And of course, rather than having a beat that I created on my iPhone one time when I was bored as our intro music, that is the lovely and stylish sounds of Analog with Matthew Lissy on lead
Yeah.
guitar.
Yes. My old band I was in, about 4 or 5 years, we had a little run there. It's funny because I never tell anybody the name of our band because I'm always too embarrassed. It's Analog. Yeah, that's what it is. But we
It's a
always wanted to
great
change
band
it.
name.
It's okay. You know what's so hard is actually choosing a name. It is so difficult to choose a good name. So we just settled with that. We're like, what the fuck it. But yeah,
Well,
that
and
was
think
the song
about
we
that
had.
from our podcast. I mean, that was a big thing that we had was trying. Now, we had initially, for those of you who have been with us for a long time, you know this, but initially, we were the Solar Report podcast. And I was going through my phone today. I was looking at old pictures, and I actually have a picture of you and me podcasting in my garage when we first started.
Yeah.
And after
Very
we
cool.
started to do it, and we did it with some consistency, and we started to gain some momentum. Obviously, the Sun's solar panel, who at the time had Dave King, had Espo, and had Tim Tompkins on it. They're like, "Hey guys, we're the solar panel," and I'm like, "Oops, the
Yeah.
Solar Report just sounds good." So we changed it to the Sun's Report podcast, which just didn't work, and then we finally came up with that name. Unlike Analog, who never, I mean, did you guys have a band name before Analog?
Yeah, so actually oh, this is kind of embarrassing, but we used to be called we called okay, so me and the singer, we came up with this is embarrassing.
Hey, this is
It's
fun.
called it was called Monster, all right? And, okay.
Just Monster?
Just Monster, all right? And it's funny because we had our sticker because we had a band room and we rented a room where a bunch of bands practice and we had our name on the front. And I remember one day I was practicing by myself in there and someone walked by like, "Oh, Monster, that's real original." I'm like, "Oh shit." so then we went into Analog and then we actually changed our name again. And I think it was Deer Horizon, which I don't even know. But then we actually split before that one came into effect. So long list of terrible names,
The good old Analog days, though. I know, when I first met you, a lot of the times, I obviously I'm married to your sister, but a lot of our first dates were going to watch you perform
Yeah.
and playing like that song. That's our intro. That's "Hold On" by Analog. You can check it
Yeah.
out. Check them out on SoundCloud. Go buy the CD. But a lot of great times, and you used to wail. You probably still do wail on the guitar, but highly talented, my friend. So thought I'd throw that out there. Looks like some of the Jamsters are commenting and they're saying, "Ooh, they like the new intro song." So we'll try it out for a bit. If people like it,
sounds
great.
good. It looks good. And a lot of those were dates too with the girlfriend I was with at the time. All it was every week was, "Oh, I got a show. Oh, I got a show."
Yeah.
Now I look back on that, I'm like, damn, that must have been annoying. It's just a show every
No,
weekend.
but she
you know what I mean?
loves supporting you though. She loved being in the front.
Yeah.
I remember one time you played at like this little shitty place in Mesa where they were serving beers out of a trash can. Like they had a trash can, had ice in it. You don't know
Okay.
because you were up on stage. And so we went to go buy a beer, and they're like pulling cans out of the trash can with ice, and like Jello shots were in like little paper things, like how you're at the hospital, and they're like, "Here's your pills."
Yeah,
It was like that was a Jello shot, and it was just like it was dope though. It was packed, and they patted me down on the way in and out. So I'm like, "Hey, someone could get shot at an Analog concert tonight."
Anywhere we played in Mesa, it was always that way. We had bulletproof vests on the stage. So
And then, of course, for those of you who are local, you know that there's an annual tradition in Chandler called the Ostrich Festival. And man, Matthew, 1 year Analog was playing right next to the ostrich races.
we did it 3 years in a row.
That's dope. It was so awesome. So,
Yeah, that was fun.
Sorry about the tangent there, Jamsters, but I just thought
Yeah.
it's a fun
right.
story. So, first thing I want to talk about on this edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast is the NBA Finals. Here we are. The pinnacle of the NBA is occurring. And I just want to know, Matthew, first, are you watching the finals at all? Like, are you catching any of it?
Yeah, I am. The last 2 games I watched, I took an edible before. So I think I told you I watched a game high before, and it was insane how much more fun it is to watch basketball high.
Well, especially when you're not like invested in the teams, right?
Exactly.
Like,
When
watching
you
a
can
Suns
actually
game is
just
completely
relax.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna come on here with notes taken from the game. I just wanted to watch, Steph
Mhm.
Curry go off. and just it's a different feeling. And I've told you I've been watching it from like the above the rim cameras. Sometimes they have it set up good where the audio sounds good, but recently it's kind of like the audio goes up and down depending what camera they're on. So I actually had to watch the broadcast because I just wanted to watch it in silence and just hear the players. And I think they silence it because you can hear them cuss a lot. So
Nice.
that's
So
the
it's
best way I
actually,
feel like to watch the game if you're not investing at the right
and
notes.
that's via like the ESPN app, right? Because
It
the
is.
okay.
Yeah.
So rather
Yeah.
than logging on to, or not log, rather than Anna logging on to, I have DirecTV, so I watch it obviously on ABC 15, which is the local
Uh-huh.
ABC affiliate, which of course is an ESPN affiliate. But you're saying the above the rim is better because you don't have to hear. And I'll say this on conversely, I have not been disappointed with the commentating on this. Jeff Van Gundy, I feel, does a really good job. I feel like, did we get him last year when the Suns were in the NBA Finals?
I think it was the same crew, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I really think that, like, I really like Jeff Van Gundy because he kind of keeps it really real. Like, there was a couple flops last night in Game 5 of the NBA Finals, one by Gary Payton Jr. and another one by Jordan Poole, where he just flat out calls it. He's like, oh, come on, that's a flop.
Mhm.
Like, you can't reward that. And, like, he says what I'm thinking, when it comes to those kind of things. So I do respect that. It is nice because it's not on TNT. I don't have to hear Reggie Miller's annoying voice, but I can see why, one, for you, it's nice to sit back, watch the game, and not have any uh, commentating going on because it's a different experience. And two, when you have an edible and you're feeling a little wheezy, it's even better because you're totally zoned
Yeah.
into like the game. It's about the game, right? It's not about
It's
like the
just yeah.
people's takes on the game. It's about the game. So
It's a different feel. Just the spacing and stuff when you watch it. It's like basically watching when you play 2K, the 2K camera where it follows the players. So
yeah,
it's kind of cool. I mean, they can fix the audio and just take out because I've always wanted it. And I think this started back when the Cowboys used to blow every playoff series or every playoff game when you had Troy and Buck calling the game. And, it just gets a little frustrating listening to those guys when your team's losing. So I'm like, I wish I could just
yeah,
watch these games without the broadcast. And even Kevin Durant brought it up too, where he doesn't watch any game really. I think he watches it on mute. I like that too, but I want to hear the game. I want to hear the
yes,
fans.
the
And
squeaks.
it gives you that. And if they can work out the kinks, I think it's a good way to watch basketball. Of course, you can't see the whole court. I mean, it basically follows the ball. So if I were to watch the Suns, I need to watch the full view so I can see what's going on. Like
Mhm.
I act like I know what a defense set is, and act like I know what the hell they're doing out there. But
You're like, dude,
you
what about
just,
that pin down,
yeah,
bro?
exactly. You can't even see anything but the ball sometimes. So other than that, it's a fun way to watch it.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that for Game 6. I'll log on my phone, whatever, or I don't know. I'll figure it out because I do want to experience that. Because you and I, we were talking the other day. We had lunch and we were
Mhm.
talking about that. I was like, yeah, that's kind of a cool way to experience it. So that being said, like, what are you seeing in this series? Are you excited about this series? Do you think it's a good matchup? Are you
Yeah.
still pissed that the Suns aren't there, or did like the Western Conference
Yeah.
Finals kind of dilute that? Like, what are you thinking? When you're stoned out of your brain, what's going through that brain?
Of course, I want the Warriors to lose. But if it
We
doesn't
agree
happen,
there.
I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where now I'm thinking about. I'm like, okay, so this is still the team. Kind of like in a way where Michael had to get past the Pistons. In a way, the Warriors are still there. They're still a force
Yes.
to be reckoned with. Whatever you want to say. I I think the Suns, obviously, whatever happened at the end, we'll never know for a while. I think, but everyone does comment, say like the Suns could beat both the teams. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll never know. But I do enjoy the series right now. And it's not just because I take an edible. I just because I can't I like Steph Curry. Of course, I don't like him when we play against him, but he's a fun player to root for. I like rooting for Jason Tatum now and Jalen Brown. And if I have to hear about who's better, Jalen's or Jason Tatum or Devin Booker,
Oh
like one more
God.
time on Twitter, like just leave it alone. Both these guys are badass. They're not as good as a Steph Curry or a LeBron James, and they probably never will because LeBron shows you exactly how hard it is to be
Yeah.
so consistent every night. And you see players like Jason Tatum and Devin Booker where they can't be that consistent every playoff game. And in the finals, they can't be that consistent. That just shows how hard this game is. And both players right now, even though Booker's not in the finals, they're just, they're next. It just they'll be consistent on some level in the future where they're just rolling through these games, averaging the 20 and 10 or averaging the 30 and 10, whatever. They're gonna be those players in the future. But right now, let's enjoy it. Like I don't like how we have to compare Jason Tatum to Booker right now. It's just like this guy's good and he's gonna have his insecure games once in a while, but he's on his way up there. He's still very young.
Well, that's the key. Is he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
He shies away from contact. It's the one thing that I noticed. He can hit some dagger threes. I'm enjoying it for kind of the same reasons because again, I just enjoy basketball. Period. And I have not found myself doing two things during the game. One is looking at any of the talent on the floor and trying to compare them to members of the Phoenix Suns. Right? Like it's
Yeah.
almost like everything and what I do with everything in my life is when that emotion hits, I process it, I compartmentalize it, and I just put it away. And like that's how I'm with the Phoenix Suns right now. It's like I've taken that emotion. I'm still frustrated. Like if I was to open up that compartment and start talking about the Phoenix Suns and the end of the season, I would once again have to express my anger with the way that it ended, much akin to a lot of Suns fans. But I've compartmentalized it, I've put it away, and as I've watched this series, again, I don't do any comparing of Phoenix Suns players to what's going on. And the second thing that I find myself not doing while I'm watching these games is I don't remember because I feel like I ate an edible. I had a second point and I completely forgot it. What else don't I do? I was like, I don't compare.
You don't compare. I don't know. You don't root. I mean, are you
No, I
rooting? I
definitely
don't
root.
know.
I definitely root.
You're
Like
rooting for the Celtics, yeah.
I want Boston to win just
Yeah.
because. I don't go on Twitter. That's the other thing I don't do.
Okay.
When I'm watching these games, I'm not on Twitter. I'm not going on there like, hey, Jason Tatum, fucking hit a jumper. Like I am. It's very different, obviously, because the way that you and I watch basketball games is we're watching Suns games, we're taking notes, we're on Twitter interacting, and then we're coming on and afterwards we're processing it. And with this game and this series and these games, I'm just processing it as a basketball fan. I'm just like, damn, dude, like look at the way that Steph Curry is stepping up and showing out. And then the next game's like, look, he can't hit a three, but his team is now carrying him.
Yeah.
Look at the way that Boston is playing physical in this game. But look in this game how they can't hold on to the ball. They just turn it over. They're such a sloppy team, So if you were to ask me, like, much akin to what you said, like, would the Suns be either one of these teams? We'll never know. And I'm past the point of trying to compare the Suns against these teams and trying to say, well, we would win. Like, we have no right to really do that. And it's annoying because we know what this was like last year as a team that was in the NBA Finals, where you would see, because we were engaged on Twitter during that time, fans of the Warriors, fans of the Lakers, how many fans of the Lakers in the NBA Finals were just still talking shit after we beat them? It's just like, well, if we were healthy, we'd be there and we'd be winning. It's just like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this for the basketball that it is. And the basketball that it is, it's fun, it's entertaining. It's two teams, neither of them is dominant. That's the one thing that I'm taking from this series is they have dominant stretches, but neither is dominant. So when we look at this Warriors team and we think back to that run that they had at the back end of the last decade, that was a dominant team that you expected to win every night. This is entertaining because you sit back, you kick up your feet, and you don't know what the fuck's going to happen because sometimes they got it, sometimes they don't, right?
Mm-hmm. And one thing I noticed too were the fans, the difference of the fans with cheering. Like the Celtics fans are great, but if you ever see like a 3 go down to end the quarter, or the Celtics taking the lead with 3 minutes left in the game or something, it's loud. But do you ever notice that the Celtics fans, they stay grounded? They're never like, like they just stay grounded, and
it's
they're just
like an
like,
East Coast
you have
thing.
to be tough. Yeah. And if you watch the Warriors, they're all jumping up. I mean, Suns fans do it too. But I'm
Suns
like,
fans, we jump up and we got money in our hand that we're like, count my hundos, bro.
Exactly, dude. Yeah, you can't forget about that.
Gross.
And it's funny because you think about it's so loud, but where's the movement? But they're just sitting there screaming like, oh, I gotta be tough. That's the way Celtics fans are.
Oh yeah.
And you watch the Warriors, they're just jumping up and down.
Phillies fans, or Philly fans, it's like, we won. And instead of getting high fives, they're like decking each other, like, hit me again, bro. Yeah.
Little, like uppercuts.
Yeah, like bam. Yeah. How about that 3? Oh, bloody noses, And you're right. Like it's the West Coast thing, especially in like seeing that's in San Francisco, and the majority of those fans are like the Silicon Valley people. Like, yeah, they're totally a different kind of vibe. And it does, I do feel a little nostalgic because you and I went to game 2 of the NBA Finals last year, and the experience and how that crowd felt in that arena that night when the Suns won their last game of the season was something that I can never replicate. I went to 2001 World Series Game 7, and there was a special feeling in that moment. Obviously, the Diamondbacks won the championship that night, but the way that stadium felt, The next time I felt that was last year in that finals game. There's just a certain energy in there. And I feel like Suns fans, as you mentioned, more aligned with Warriors fans in the way that they act in those games, in the way that they get up, they yell, they scream, they, I noticed the same. It's funny you said that because I was noticing the same thing at the Boston games.
It
Where it's
might have
like,
been like an edible takeaway, takeaway from
dude,
me just being on edibles.
oh my God, dude, a new segment is
You
born.
know what? I can have
Edible
notes. I'll start
takeaways.
taking notes and I'll just read them off.
Yeah,
Whatever.
edible
Whatever.
takeaways.
All right, let's do it.
By Matthew. And another thing, and maybe this is a stupid reason to want the Boston Celtics to win, but for those of you who followed the pod throughout the whole year, there was the segment where I was actually in Boston. I went to a game one night, so I got to see Boston play in Boston. It'd be kind of cool to be like, yeah, I saw that team play in their home arena that year and beat the Toronto Raptors. So I clearly like Boston more than the Warriors, primarily because of the fans. Every Warrior fan that I know in my life, and believe me, I know them more than I should. It's a different, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's like new money. They're a team that has recent success and they have to constantly remind you that you don't have rings. And I think it's classless to go to that argument. And perhaps that's because I'm one of the people that the majority of my teams don't have rings, but even as a Dodger fan, right? And don't get me wrong, like the Dodgers won 2020.
That's true.
I know a lot of people don't really give that any merit. I still have a hat that says they're the champions, and they won one in 1988 when I was a kid. If I'm sitting there and I'm having a conversation with a fan of like the Rockies and they make a good point about something relative to the two different organizations, I'm not like, yeah, well, how many rings you won? It's such like it's like a fifth grader trying to win an argument kind of move. And that's how I feel a lot of Warriors fans are. So typically when I look at different teams, for example, if Ohio State is playing Michigan, right, in football, I'll go against Michigan because a lot of Michigan fans just annoy the living shit out of me. It's not that I don't like the team. I just don't like the fans. I don't want them to feel happiness. And maybe for that, I'm an asshole.
No, you're fine. The way the way that the Warriors fans are, and I think their whole team, the way they built it, I can really respect it, right? I mean, they're paid a lot of money, but they did it the right way. I mean, even the way they redeemed Andrew Wiggins, he's basically, an actual really good. I mean, he was an all-star, but the second half of the season was nothing. But now in the playoffs and especially the finals, he's really showing up. So it's a good story there still, even though we hate them winning all the time. But that's how you do it. Hopefully one day, 4 years, 5 years from now, we have a couple like the Warriors under our belt.
Think of that narrative, though. Andrew Wiggins, dogged for years and years and years, and is a vital piece thus far in this series, especially in the last two wins for the Warriors. If they win it and they win the championship, like Andrew Wiggins, NBA champion on his basketball reference page, like everyone could be like, yeah, after everything's said and done, he's a champion and he helped us win that championship. So, oh, well, that's enough talk about the NBA finals, right?
I think we're good.
Okay, good. So what we'll talk about next is just some trade targets. One thing that I've been doing for brightsideofthesun.com is just starting to put together some conversations about potential trade targets for the Phoenix Suns, guys that I'm interested in hearing and navigating those conversations, seeing if it's worth bringing different players in, right? And it's funny because what I'll do on these different articles that I write for Brightside is I'm a nice guy. Like, I'll put together a potential trade deal for a guy, right? Like, and my goal is, and I try to state it as much as possible, but no one reads the whole article. They just go right to the trade thing and then put their comment in the bottom. What I'm trying to say is like, not necessarily like this is the trade to acquire this player. I'm just saying like it is possible to acquire this player, and this is one way that we could do it. And everybody's like, dude, that trade fucking sucks, bro. That's a stupid fucking. I would never fucking do that trade. I'm like, listen, it's not about the trade. It's about that player. Do you see that player being a productive member of this game? And again, I understand it's a loaded question because obviously you have to understand what the outgoing assets are to understand how they could truly impact the team. So I do get that. So that being said, I'm still like exploring those different names, right? So the first name I wanted to bring up, and the first guy that I proposed on brightsideofthesun.com was Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards, if you will. So when you look at Bradley Beal and you take a look at like his current contract, right? So with the Washington Wizards, obviously he's getting paid over there, but he's on the last year of a 2 years, $70 million contract with the Wizards. So any potential trade that the Phoenix Suns would make to bring him to Phoenix, there's an understanding that he is a player who is an unrestricted free agent at the end of next season. And I think, obviously from a transaction standpoint, you have to weigh that, and you don't want to obviously give up too much, but you have to give up something to match that $36 million salary that he's procuring. So essentially what I did is I made a suggestion on Bright Side of the Sun that we go ahead, we make a stab at Bradley Beal. We put some chips in the table. And again, I understand, kind of that he's an expensive player. So I was like, okay, Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet, DeAndre Ayton, and a first-round pick. And of course I get trashed for it. It's too much. Oh, they would jump at that deal, and I get it. They probably would. So not necessarily that transaction, but let's start with this, Matthew. What do you think of Bradley Beal as a potential member of the Phoenix Suns? And do you think that we should give up a lot, knowing that this is a player who at the end of the season is an unrestricted free agent?
Oh, first of all, great art. It looks really good. This little graphic you got up.
Thank you, Stat Muse.
Yeah. I was gonna say, was it the Stat Muse one? It looks awesome, man. Of course, if Ayton's involved, because he obviously will be if we get anybody of Bradley Beal's caliber. I'm more for Bradley Beal than I was before, and the reason is I've always kind of been for adding that other guard that's just a badass guard, but he doesn't bring any kind of winning ways to Phoenix, right? He's lost his whole career. Basically, he's like the other Devin Booker. Like he was always compared to Booker in a way to where they haven't won anything. Now Booker's like in a different realm now than Bradley Beal. But Bradley Beal, he's the other guy that can just be that other shooter, that can really be someone that can help with Chris Paul's, I think, minutes, I guess. I hate to say that because Chris Paul probably won't sit at all, but he will help in that way. And of course we'll get into the argument of DeAndre Ayton and do we keep him? Do we not keep him? Because it seems like everyone right now wants to keep him. But just in case we have to get rid of him for reasons we'll never know, because for some reason, they want to trade his ass, and we'll probably never know why till probably 10 years from now. Bradley Beal is the perfect, I think, replacement. I know that it's weird. It's like 3 guards, but I've always wanted that. Even when LaMelo was coming out at the draft, I wanted him to be with Devin Booker, and I wanted him with the Warriors, with the Warriors back. I think they do that right now with Jordan Poole, though, don't they?
They do.
Poole, yeah. So that's awesome. So I think that Beal would be a great fit. I know that the money is it's a lot, and people might say he's overrated, he's paid too much, but it's like, who else are you gonna get? It's just like Chris Paul paid way too much. Who else are you gonna get to come in here and help you win? And I'm not. And these guys that the Suns have now haven't won anything. Bradley Beal would be another guy just like that. So I don't know. It's a tough one, but I'm for it if it happens to where we have to get rid of DeAndre Ayton. Are you frozen, John? Oh, you're frozen, dude. Hey, we're back. We're back at it. We are back at it. We're stuck on this Bradley Beal segment. Sorry, John, you're a little frozen. Unless I'm frozen. Jamsters want to let us know who's frozen right now. Bradley Beal's contract too. I'm sure John was actually going to go over it, but I can actually go ahead and bring that bad boy up right now and see what's going on here. Let's see here. So Bradley Beal is making, through next season he's making 37 mils. So I know Jamsters right now, you're probably wondering why would we get a guy like this up on our team for that much money? I mean, you already got Chris Paul. You already got Devin Booker. Where's he going to fit? I'm telling you, man, it would look actually pretty brilliant. And I don't know where we really stand with DeAndre Ayton yet. And I don't know why it's so confusing. Why we don't know what to do with DeAndre Ayton. I mean, we have a lot of love for him, then we have a lot of hate for him. But if we're right in the middle of it, and we're just thinking if we have to get rid of him, I think Bradley Beal's a great option. And I'm going to just keep talking until John gets back because he had these graphics up, and I know he wanted to go ahead and continue with them. So please pause for the moment. I know he'll be right back. Let's see. And here he comes.
My God, my computer just stopped working. My desktop, I'm on my laptop now.
Oh yeah.
What did I miss?
So I finished my Bradley Beal argument just saying that I would love him in place of Ayton if we have to get rid of him. And there you are. You sound a little echoey, but we can hear what you're saying. But I mean, where were you gonna go with that, man?
Keep talking.
Can you hear me? Oh, you can't hear me.
No, I can hear you. I just
Okay, cool. Oh, you're just setting stuff up. Yeah. So we were just talking about, or me and myself, where we're talking about that, and it's been a couple weeks now. We're back at it, and we're falling apart all over already, dude.
Check.
There you
Better?
go. You sound good there. Yeah, you
Better?
sound really good right there. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Check this out. Here we go.
There you go.
I'm looking at my laptop now down here.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to be looking down the whole podcast like an idiot. This is about to die too. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're back. So to your point, I'm going to do my best to try to survive this. I'd really like to know what happened to my desktop computer. Just like I was like clicking buttons. It's like, nah, you're done, bud.
You're just done. Just turn it off.
So it's like I'm going to restart on my own. You're not going to restart me. I'm going to restart on my own. So to the Bradley Beal point, and I like what Blaze Megatron said in the chat. He says,
"Oh, this one."
Had that moment from Wayne's where Wayne has to carry the show. That's so true. Well, he says, how valuable is Crowder and Shamet really? Because I included them in that trade that I made.
Mhm.
That it's like, yeah, you add the big win for Washington is bringing in DeAndre Ayton, right? And maybe you don't include a first round pick as I did. Maybe they have to include a pick to help take that contract. The goal is if you bring a Bradley Beal in, that it's an appealing enough environment for him that he does want to re-sign here. And then you got to figure out what that money looks like, right? And you know that the next year is when CP3's contract isn't fully guaranteed, and you can start to allocate some of those monies to him. And eventually what you're doing is you are phasing out, if you will, Chris Paul. You're setting up that 2-guard lineup because remember, Bradley Beal, he's 6'4". He's not a huge guard. We would have a small but very athletic backcourt. But that being said, you mentioned a little bit that he hasn't necessarily won a ton in his playoff career. He's been to the playoffs 5 times. In his 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and
5,
I just
6,
meant
7, 8,
championship
9,
because
10.
we have players that have won on here, but they haven't won at all. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And he's somebody who has performed in the playoffs. He's just been on bad teams, and I'd like to see him in a good situation. And I like the thought of Bradley Beal. Obviously, I wrote the article for Brightside about that because I thought he was potentially a good pick for the Phoenix Suns. So, again, is it the ultimate answer? No. And I can understand why some people could say, like, oh, hell no. Like you said, overrated, not worth the money. Well, I mean, the guy can score. He can take a lot of offensive pressure off of Devin Booker. You can run point Beal, point Booker with CP3 here. Again, you run those 3-guard lineups. My one concern is probably some defense. You sacrifice some defense, but I mean, what defense is Jay Crowder / Landry Shamet giving you? And if DeAndre Ayton's not going to be here, you might as well go big game hunting, right? That's the way the Suns have to attack the potential loss of a DeAndre Ayton type figure. Is you have to go big game hunting. So,
how much? Go ahead. Really quick too with the defense. How much does it matter if your team's winning and you have a chance to actually win something? Doesn't that make your defense a little bit better? Like, wouldn't you want to go out there and play some better defense? Like, I feel like he's capable of it. So I know defense. I've never been a big fan of oh, this guy doesn't play defense, I don't want him. Like, okay, I guess not. But who else are we gonna have on this team? You know what I mean? If Ayton's gone, a guy like Bradley Beal is a huge piece to put in here and to continue the winning. I just think it is. And of course, I don't want Ayton to go, but I'm just saying, the defensive thing, we have to get over that. I think if we're going to get someone like Bradley Beal who could score and take over a game,
then you fill up the rest of the roster with potential defensive stalwarts. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Steph Curry. How great of a defensive player is Steph Curry?
I have no idea. He's
not.
Pay attention
He's
to his
not good.
That's what I'm saying. It's not even there.
So you build around him. You have the Draymond Greens. You have Klay Thompson, who's not been very good at defense, but you have Andrew Wiggins, who has been during the finals, and that's where you make up for it. So, again, it's not an end-all, be-all, but it's a suggestion, right? The next suggestion I'm going to bring up is another guy I wrote about for Bright Side of the Sun, and that is the Detroit Pistons' Jeremy Grant. He has definitely been mentioned in the conversation relative to DeAndre Ayton possible destinations. In fact, John Hollinger of The Athletic had reported that that they recently stated that one of those destinations for DeAndre Ayton could be Detroit, where the rebuilding Pistons enter free agency with a lot of cap space, a franchise player in Cade Cunningham, and one of the league's most obtainable and attractive trade chips in Jeremy Grant. So Jeremy Grant, 6'8", 210, long, really good defender, has shown the capacity to score in Detroit, seen as he's been shooting. The past season, he had 14.9 field goal attempts. The previous season, he had 17.3 field goal attempts. So he definitely has, when given the opportunity to try to score, he can. It's kind of like having a bigger Mikal Bridges almost. What are your thoughts on Jeremy Grant? And make it last for 3 minutes because I got to go run and grab my my charger for my laptop. So and go.
And go. Okay, yeah. So Jeremy Grant's actually, he's a guy that I before, when the Suns were always looking for that extra piece. I think there's a couple of years ago where we would always think Jeremy Grant's the next guy to come in here and be something. He was a guy that went to the Pistons, and he actually was able to up his statistics, show that he can score, show that he can be a guy in certain situations, not be the actual guy, but he can't really take over either. So if we're able to get him, I don't know if this is not much better than, I think, the Bradley Beal. I won't even actually put it on the same tier as a Bradley Beal, but this would be a good extra piece. And it's crazy because you have two guys like Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges who are continuing to improve. So you have them trying to improve their game, and you bring in a Jeremy Grant who would actually be a really good 4 on this team, I think. And a lot of the Suns fans want an actual 4. I'm not sure if he's the actual guy, but I think he can be a good piece next to Booker and next to Chris Paul. But then also, it's like, how much am I willing myself willing to sacrifice Cameron Johnson's minutes? Because I thought he had really an opportunity to be the 4 for the Suns still. And then a lot of these trades we're talking about, Jay Crowder is a guy that's going to be gone. So that
100%.
leaves a spot for the number 4, which would be Cameron Johnson. But then can he rebound? Can he box out? Can he be that 4? I always think he still can. I think the final, or not the finals, but this playoff run was just not very good for him. But Jeremy Grant, I just don't get too excited. I don't get too excited like a Bradley Beal. I know what he can bring to the game, but it would be so disappointing for me to have him and just be like, okay, Aiden's gone. It's like that would kind of be soul crushing to me.
See, I'm excited about Jeremy Grant. He's one of the ones who, as I've continued to explore different trade possibilities, he's somebody I'm really excited when I start to analyze a little bit of the tape, to look at some of his deliverables. For those of you who don't know much about him, he's a guy who possesses like true 3-and-D skill set, right? 6'8", like I said, 7'3" wingspan, career 35% 3-point shooter, really good at creating his own shot. He knows how to attack the rim, straight line driver, pressures the rim, which we need. And it's something that, as you mentioned, like that's a role that we want Cameron Johnson to grow into. But I think that there is a ceiling on the talent of Cam Johnson, and that is a really good, solid role player who can get some starts here and there. But I don't know if necessarily he is an everyday starter in the NBA. I think that what the Suns do with him this offseason is going to kind of show us what their thoughts obviously are on him relative to how much he gets paid. You get Mikal Bridges, and they pay him, like 19, 20 a million, or maybe it's 24 to 25. I'd have to look at the contract. I forget right now, and I'm sure one of the Jamsters will let me know in the chat. But that's for a guy who's an all-defensive player and a guy who is a Defensive Player of the Year runner-up. Cam Johnson's not in that same ballpark. So knowing that Jay Crowder wasn't the answer, I think that Jeremy Grant as a 4 would really be an answer for the Phoenix Suns. Again, it depends also on what they do at that 5 position. If they go and they pursue somebody else and just go, hey, Jeremy Grant's somebody who can create, somebody who can attack the rim, he can defend. I mean, a starting lineup of CP3, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Jeremy Grant, and insert center here is something that is very appealing to me.
Yeah, this is just a tough one to talk about, honestly. I don't.
Well, it's
just
because
it's like,
because you love Cam Johnson so much, and you know that this guy eats into the potential of Cam Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I was saying when you were actually gone. Yeah, that's.
I was
it's hard
listening. I wasn't listening.
Yeah. So with him joining the Suns, it would be cool if there was a lineup where Cam still came off the bench and somehow we keep Ayton, but that would not be possible.
No, Ayton would be part of the deal. The deal that I proposed on Bright Side of the Sun was Jeremy Grant for DA and campaign. The math works, the money works, because you look at Jeremy Grant and his current contract situation, and he is also in the last year of his deal. He signed a 3-year, $60 million deal in 2020. So this is also the same. You're in the same situation as you are with Bradley Beal. This is a player that you're bringing in and you have for 1 year. And then based on that year, you're going to have another contract and hope that they want to re-sign with you. So those are a couple, the first two I want to start with are those kind of contracts where these are unrestricted free agents next year. And you're giving up DA knowing that he's going to sign a 4-year deal. It's a sign and trade, and he's going to end up playing 4 years for another thing for the other team. The one thing I do like about this is if we do have to trade DeAndre Ayton, I would like it to be to the Pistons for 2 reasons. 1, we only play him twice a year, and 2, the Pistons fucking suck.
Just take that. But they do have some good pieces there too. Cade Cunningham does look like that'd be kind of cool to see Cade and DeAndre, but it's just such a weird thing to think about, right? I mean, number one pick for the Suns just like gone.
Yeah, for Jeremy Grant potentially. Like you told me that like when we drafted DA, it's like, hey, we're trading him for Jeremy Grant. But like, the fuck happened in Phoenix?
No, exactly, man. Does not
all right,
look good.
Let's bring up another guy that I wrote a piece about, Dante DiVincenzo, currently playing for the Sacramento Kings. You take a look at his current contract with the Kings. Again, he came over in a deal in the middle of the season with the Milwaukee Bucks. Huge player deal that he came over with. He is entering the season in which, he's in that same draft class, I believe, as Ayton and them, right? So he's
18-19?
Yeah, 2018. He was the 17th overall pick. So he didn't receive a rookie extension, much akin to DeAndre Ayton, right? So he would have to be essentially a sign and trade option for the Kings to make a transaction occur. And his qualifying offer is $6.6 million. So he's a guy who you could definitely take a stab at in a sign and trade opportunity. Obviously, a guy who provides a physical presence, can shoot the 3 ball, is somebody who, you take a look at what he did while he was in the purple and gray, right? Those are there because I brain
purple and gray. Yep.
I'm like purple and gray. Yeah. So the purple and gray of the Sacramento Kings when he came over, 10.3 points per game, 36% from beyond the arc. He wasn't having a great season in the first 17 games with Milwaukee. We only shot 28% beyond the arc, but he's a career 34.7% shooter, 9 points a game. I just feel like, you take a look at him, 6'4" shooting guard. Is he an upgrade to Landry Shamet? If so, make that deal and upgrade to Landry Shamet.
You know what? This guy, though, when you watch him, he knows what he's doing on the court. He's very comfortable with himself, something that we never saw from Shamet. But DiVincenzo, he's that hustle guy, like you said, the defensive player that, can get up in someone's grill and play some good D. I don't know if it's better than anybody else and maybe replacing Shamet with. That's the only thing I can think of, right?
That's the only role he could fill, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's one guy, Shamet, that I don't think is going to be coming back. I would be very surprised if we had Shamet back, but if we were to replace him with Dante, I think that would be pretty impressive, just because defensively, I think we can use him coming off the bench for sure.
Well, and again, you make this Villanova West, right? Like he won national championships with Mikal Bridges. He's somebody who has a championship mentality. He's won a championship, although he didn't contribute to the Milwaukee Bucks run over the Suns last year. He was a member of that Bucks team that won a championship last year, so he has that pedigree. This is just something I wanted to explore, considering that Landry Shamet is somebody who I don't necessarily know if I want back next year.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, and you take a look at what Blaze Megatron says in the chat. He's like, I'd do that, but would Sac. And the great thing about Sacramento is you don't know what they're going to do. That is not a very well-run organization, right? Like, they're going to have an option. They have the 4th pick in the draft, and the most likely prospect who's going to be there is another guard. Like, all they do is draft guards. It's like De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Davion Mitchell. They're going to have another shot at another guard. I forget the guy's name because I don't give a shit about the draft really this much this year until draft day when you and I are doing a podcast about it. But I think that given the way that front office operates, like, who knows what they're going to do. And the interesting thing about Dante DiVincenzo is he might not necessarily even have to be a trade target for the Phoenix Suns. If they offer him more, if they go, hey, we'll give you, if they can pull a couple deals off, free up a little bit of money and say, hey, we're going to offer you $7 million a year. And Sacramento doesn't want to match that. They're known to not match that. They did it with Bojan Bogdanovic. They let him walk to the Atlanta Hawks just 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, which was crazy.
Which was stupid. You should have
It's
signed and
insane
traded
what they
that
do.
dude.
They do well, just like the Halliburton thing. Everyone was freaking flipping over that one. That one still seems like maybe they made the right choice with Sabonis. I know that's a really great asset, especially someone to build around. If you're going to keep Fox, and if you want to believe in Foxes, it seems like they do. You would think the franchise would eventually turn things around and just start making the right choices. But here's another one that might not go their way, and whatever their future is. It's tough because Halliburton was a guy, right?
Yeah.
Halliburton, we always talked about Halliburton, even though we didn't play the Kings, we talked about him all the time.
Well, I
but
told you, like, I went to a Sacramento game. In fact, it was the last game that James Harden played for
all
the
their
Nets.
jerseys, right?
Everybody in the crowd's wearing Halliburton jerseys. And like a week
James
later, they
Harden
traded
jerseys.
him. I was like, dude, that's just not, that's a guy not sitting in the arena for 20 minutes and looking at his fans and going, you know what? I got to choose between Fox and Halliburton. Everybody's loving Halliburton right now. They're sick of Fox. Halliburton seems to have it. But again, they're committed to De'Aaron Fox, who just like likes to disappear in the last 5 minutes. And I say that now, knowing that if the Suns trade for him in the future, I will forget all of that and I will embrace De'Aaron Fox being a member of the Phoenix Suns. I would love that.
Yeah, exactly, man.
All right, last guy I think I'll
We got
talk about. Let's see, or maybe we'll talk about a couple more. If you're a fan of this podcast, you know I love this guy, so obviously I had to try to work him into a trade, and that is one Obi Toppin. And if you're watching, I put Opie Toppin instead of Obi Toppin on the graphic that I have. So for that, I apologize. And it's a reminder, if you're listening and not watching, go ahead and head over to our YouTube page. Just hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe. And if you're watching, not listening, go over to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, and actually write a review, and we'll read it live right here on the podcast. But Obi Toppin is someone I have definitely always had an affinity for as a player. I think he's just has been underutilized in New York, playing behind Julius Randle. Tries to find instances to shine, but just due to the fact that Julius Randle, one, had an amazing season in Obi Toppin's freshman season, and two, because of said amazing season, got so much playing time and opportunity in season 2 of his career that he just didn't get the exposure that I feel like he necessarily needed. He's a really solid asset, and I just think that is a crowded power forward position for the New York Knicks. He's on his rookie deal. He's $5 million a year. It wouldn't take much to get him. Obviously, you'd have to do something that's enticing in an effort to try to pull him away from there, considering he's a lottery pick. But do you think the Suns have the firepower, the negotiation skills to try to bring an Obi Toppin to the Phoenix Suns? And do you think he would be a productive member of this team? Because this is in my situation, I think this is like the perfect answer for Matthew, because you bring in Obi Toppin, you start Cam Johnson, and Obi Toppin becomes the backup to Cam Johnson, and then you split the power forward position right down the middle, right?
Yeah, I had a couple points. That was one of them. It's like, if Obi comes here, he can be a backup to my fabulous Cam Johnson. Until it happens, it's going to happen. I'm going to keep talking about it. But it's such a New York Knicks thing to do where they have him score 35 points and then 42 points to end the season. Something just to be so happy about, right?
Yeah.
In his last 2 games, that's what he scores, 35 points and 42 points. It gives the Knicks fans something. Oh, we got Obi though, right? I would be surprised if he ever gets traded, because I think this is a guy that's kind of welcome to New York. And he was horrible his rookie season, but then he came on later in the year. And I don't know how much I can buy into playing for such a crappy team than putting up big stats, right? We've seen that with even Josh Jackson at the end of the years he played here in Phoenix, where he would just basically hog the ball and throw up some good looking stats. But I do like Obi. I've always liked him. And this is a guy that's still a big. I think that he's a guy that needs 4 or 5 years to really kind of be who he is on the court. It would be so much fun though to have this guy in the Suns. And I don't know if who he would give up or whatever, but of course it wouldn't be DeAndre Ayton. It would just be,
that's the thing.
Yeah, I think if the Knicks were to give up Obi, that would be crazy for them to do that.
Bag of Doritos. No, but see, again, this is where I challenge James Jones, because Obi Toppin, again, rookie, he's on the rookie deal right now, right? So this is not a potential trade DeAndre Ayton to the New York Knicks and get Obi Toppin back. Now, that being said, you could do that, but you would gain more assets back than just Obi Toppin. So I'm just saying, if you make Obi Toppin a trade target and you don't include DA in the deal, what kind of things could the Phoenix Suns offer? Well, maybe you go Landry Shamet, because that'll make the contracts work, and you throw in 2 picks, a first round, maybe a second round, or a pick swap in there.
Yeah,
you try to find something to make it appeasing to a team that goes, hey, we already have a crowded backcourt, right? Like we already got Julius Randle. Obi Toppin's kind of his backup, but we haven't necessarily bought into him, nor have we provided him an opportunity to be successful here. He's getting 17 minutes a game last season, and 11 minutes is his rookie season, right? So he's not necessarily somebody who you're consistently relying on. So if you can throw the right package at him, maybe he's somebody you can bring in, because Jay Crowder's potentially on the way out, right? He is a trade chip that most likely will be moved if you try to make this transaction. Because like you said, Cam Johnson slides into that 4, Obi gets that backup spot. Now you have a solid power of 4, and maybe he outplays him. Maybe it's an offense-defense thing. I don't know. He's a name that I really enjoy, and somebody who I think he is a freak. And I wanted him in the draft, and I want him now.
I want him in the draft too.
And we took Jalen Smith 3 picks.
It wouldn't really be Amari. Remember, we compared him to Amari.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be Amari 2.0 really, but it would be fun like Amari. We get some dunks.
Yeah,
Cameron Johnson can bring the dunks, but this guy,
this is true.
Cameron Johnson was our best dunker, and that's not good. If Cameron Johnson's our best dunker on the team, that's not good for your team. We need an explosive guy like an Obi. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that's it's something worth exploring. So I think that's it. We'll talk on trade rumors on this edition. We'll talk next week. I've got plenty more coming to talk about, a couple more that I haven't even added to my little graphics down there, but we'll talk about them later. Last thing I want to talk about on the podcast, last 10 minutes, Matthew, what are you watching these days? Like all the Phoenix Suns fans, we're not watching a lot of basketball. A lot of basketball fans just watch the finals. A lot of great TV, a lot of great movies. What's going on in the life of you? What are you checking out?
Well, right now, before the pod, I told you I've been watching a lot of baseball. So I am a Yankees fan. I'm sorry, I am, but I'm doing good in fantasy baseball. I've been watching some baseball. It's nice and calm. I like watching basketball, but there's just so much bullshit with it. There's so much anger. There's so much frustration. There's so many ads. There's so much just sex involved with it. It's too much sex involved.
Too much
with basketball.
smut.
It's too sexy.
It's too smutty.
So I got to go to baseball sometimes just to chill out.
That is very unsexy. Although kids dig the long ball.
Yeah. Hey, Aaron Judge on pace to beat the home run record of 61 for the Yankees. But anyway,
I was like, that's not the record.
No, yeah,
70,
for just for the Yankees.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
who has that record, Matthew?
For what? 61?
Yeah, who has 61?
Roger Maris.
There you go.
And other than baseball, because I'm already boring everybody, a couple shows, because ever since weed became legal, I dabbled in it. And when I started watching TV shows when I was high, and let me know if anybody else notices, it is the fakest, dumbest shit ever. Like, I can't understand how we watch this and are entertained by it. It just looks so dumb, because you can actually see when you're high and you watch any kind of TV show, you just realize they're normal people, and the acting, everything just seems just so dumb. But anyways,
it's like these fools are acting.
Yeah, it's
real.
It's a weird thing to watch, because you just realize, like, it's just
example. What are you watching?
So right now I'm actually watching. I just finished watching Barry. I don't know if it was a season finale. Nice. But that was, that's one that's different. That's one that will take you in different directions, things that you won't expect. So that's a good one. Better Call Saul, I did finish that one up too.
Nice.
Those are really good. Those are probably the only two that I've watched, and I've been into some animes, but other than that, it's just Barry and Better Call Saul. I have a hard time right now sitting down and watching anything. I can't, for some reason.
You're seeing through the fakeness of Hollywood, man.
I mean, it sounds like that, but honestly, it's just like, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I don't want to watch any of this, when I get a honey, I'll lay down, we'll just watch some shows, but that's about it. I'm looking forward to that. That's about it.
You're looking forward to seeing Desperate Housewives on again?
Yeah, I don't care. I'll watch the Kardashians.
Oh my God. Desperate Housewives is always on in my house. Yeah, Barry's one thing that I definitely want to see. I've seen the first 2 seasons, trying to catch my wife up on those seasons so we can watch season 3 together, because I think it's a fantastic show. It's great writing, just a good solid like HBO show. That's one of the great things about HBO is they have some really good solid shows there. Blaze Megatron asks in the chat, Void and Lissy, do you guys watch The Boys? Matthew, you've watched The Boys, right?
Yeah, first season was really good.
Yeah.
Did you? Second season, it kind of tailed off. I didn't like it, so I'm not going to watch season 3 probably. But first season was really good. I didn't like how the second season was, but
I completely agree with you, and I have no desire to watch that. That being said, somebody was telling me like the first scene of the new season is just like fucking gross. Like You know,
Just
because the
like,
boys they pushed the boundary, so apparently
do they show a
that's what
penis
somebody
or what?
they maybe
Oh,
blowing up. I don't know. I haven't seen
no.
it, and I don't know if I'm
Oh,
gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna watch the boys.
speaking of penises, I've been watching a lot of Jackass, and I that's what I've been
Yeah,
watching,
it's on
like
like
all the
Netflix
Jackass
right now.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, always a bunch of dicks. But yeah, go. Oh yeah.
What else have I been watching? Let's see. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Have you been watching
Mm,
that?
no, I'm close.
My screen name's Darth Voida. Like I'm a Star Wars nut. For those
Yeah.
of you who are watching it, it's I mean it's a must watch, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. Like you have to watch it, but like there's just some really lazy writing in it. And I was talking to my brother about it the other day. It's like all
Damn it.
new Star Wars stuff should be written and directed by Jon Favreau. Like because The Mandalorian was just it was like art, and it's one of those shows that I would watch and I'd just be mad at like our niece and nephew because like this is the TV that they get to grow up watching. Like I watched Transformers where it was just like a guy standing there and just the mouth was moving. It's like Optimus Prime. We have to go to and they like, it's like and they get like
Yeah.
the Mandalorian, which is like the coolest shit ever. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, I really think is there's so much potential there. There's all the little
Oh
Easter eggs and
man.
the cool stuff. So it's definitely still cool, but like you'll be watching it and like 3/4 of the episode's good, and there's a quarter where you're just like, dude, that was just lazy. And I'm not going to give any of it away because I know people still have
Yeah.
to watch it, and maybe one day we can sit around and talk about it once you've seen it. But then you might understand kind of what my frustration with that is. Let's see, what else have I been
And I knew it would
watching?
be. I know you said the episodes were good to start, but that's the thing with those Star Wars ones. I always get into them kind of, and then they just end up kind of cheesy and lazy.
Mandalorian though is fantastic.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
never finished that one
I
either.
think it's 3 seasons of it. It's 2 or 3 seasons, and the end is like, oh my god, it's everything it should be. God, what else have I been watching? Like, I brought up the segment because I knew I had a couple more reviews on things. Haven't gone and seen any movies. Like Top Gun's out, all these different
I
movies.
did see
Haven't
the new
gone.
Jurassic Park.
Oh, did
I
you see
saw
it? How is
that.
it?
You know what?
You fuckers! Why don't you ever invite me to that shit?
No, I went with someone else. I didn't go with family. I just went with someone
I don't
else. I
care.
found somebody.
I could be like 3 rows behind, just kicking it. I'll be
Yeah.
there by myself. I could be
No,
like your chauffeur.
it
Like,
was
oh, I've
at
got a
f it's
driver.
very cheesy, but that's the way it
Is it
is. Like,
cheesy? Yeah.
it's cheesy,
Were you
but
on an
it's
edible and
fun.
you like recognize the
No.
acting was shit, and you're like, dude.
No, that's one you can't do it with because you freak out because they're dinosaurs, and then you're just like, "That's not how dinosaurs look." All the dinosaurs were barely the size
were
of humans, but it's
they
still
were
fun to watch.
they were birds, damn it. They
They
were
were all birds.
birds.
It was fun. The last hour and a half was actually a lot of action.
Okay, that's what I
But I
figured.
get kind of bored sometimes, but it was pretty decent. I give it like 5 out of 10 maybe.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Roy in the chat says, "Have you guys watched Peacemaker?" I
I
haven't.
did.
I don't know what that is. Did you like it?
With John Cena, I thought that one had a lot of potential. It was good. The opening scene
That's the
sequence is really funny.
spin-off, right?
Yeah, from
Of
Suicide Squad.
yeah, which that was a really good movie.
That last Suicide Squad was really good, and the Peacemaker was good. It's there, but it never hit for me. So sorry, didn't like
Gotcha.
it that much.
I know it's like, is there anything that we're going to talk about that's fantastic?
Yeah,
Uh,
no. Better Call Saul, man. That's
God,
that's
what
one.
was I literally watching the other day? I should look at like my IMDb because like as I'm watching these shows, I watched We Own This City.
Yeah. So did you
Which is
finish it? Is
the
it over?
HBO show. It's 7. It's made by the guys who did The Wire. It's about corrupt Baltimore cops, and it's based on a true story. I enjoyed it. I like the way that The Wire. I thought The Wire was just an absolutely fantastic show, and the fact that the guys who created The Wire went back to Baltimore and explored that space again. I really enjoyed it. You and I had a conversation, and once you told me your take on the lead actor for. You nailed it. The guy's name, his name's John, like Bethanol,
Yeah. He's
Barenthal,
so
whatever. He's the guy who was
yeah.
in like Punisher. And, Matthew told me, I was talking to him, a couple weeks ago. I'm like, dude, I'm watching this. He's like, my only problem is the lead actor, whenever he walks around, he's very exaggerated with his head movements. Like somebody will call his name and he'll like turn.
He always has his mouth wide open. He's like,
yeah. And like, I'm like, oh my God, you're right. So
Ugh.
that ruined part of it for me. So thank you for that, Matthew. But it's a good show. It's a good show.
I know how to ruin things.
Yeah, and then the last thing I want to bring up before we got out here, Ted Lubin brought it up. Anyone watch Adam Sandler's new movie Hustle? Did you watch that movie, Matthew?
I did.
What'd you think of it? Because I watched it as well. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
You're like, it sucked. The acting.
No, I'm sorry. It was good. It was just an Adam Sandler movie. Like he'll never be the same like he used to be.
It's
I
not
just
meant to be
thought
funny.
it wasn't funny, but it just was. It never. I thought the guy that played the basketball player, he was really good. I liked
Wancho.
him. There's just when they're training him and stuff was really cool. I just kind of got bored with it. I didn't finish it. I think there was 20 minutes left, and I didn't finish it because I'm like, I can't. I just don't want to do this. I'm the wrong guy to talk about watching shit right now.
This is true. This is true. Well, I'll say this: like, I really enjoyed it, but the parts, because there's a million cameos in that. There's a million cameos in that movie, right? Like up and down the NBA. I thought Adam Sandler did a great job. It's a really good story. I feel like there was too much training in the movie. Like they're constantly showing him training. I'm like, okay, now I'm just watching like a scouting video for Juancho Herman Gomez. And I get it. Like the guys, it's all part of the process, but I enjoyed it. Like if you like basketball, it's an enjoyable, gritty basketball movie, and you don't get too many of those nowadays. So I appreciated that. So what this conversation has told me is between now and next week, when we do the pod again next Tuesday night, 8:00, I need to watch something else and have a better review and not take a gummy, because I'll understand that the acting is shit in Hollywood. So
I'm telling you, man, one night, just watch it. You'll understand everything's cardboard and it's just weird.
I get it.
It's trippy.
Yeah, it's trippy indeed. Trippy doing this podcast again. Thank you for putting up with my shitty technology. My computer just straight up is like, boop, 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 boop,
yeah.
boop,
Thanks
boop.
for putting up with me for that. For those.
I'm gonna go back. I can't wait to go back and listen to it and hear like Matthew just try to drag.
I didn't know you were frozen for a minute, and then I was like, oh, you're just sitting there. I'm like, oh, he's frozen.
I was gone, man. My computer shut off. So
yeah.
On that note, Jamsters, again, we thank you for hanging out with the Suns Jam Session podcast. You can follow me at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew
at Matthew Lissy,
and follow the show, of course, at Suns Jam. Subscribe, rate, and review. And again, we'll be back live next Tuesday, 8 p.m., continuing to discuss different trade targets and talking about who the NBA champion was, because by then we'll know. So until then, you got anything to put forth out there, Matthew?
That's it, man. Everyone go home and love your family.
Take care, everybody.